program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and hello. Sorry for that slightly, awkward beginning. That's okay. It's what happens when it rains. It's been pouring with rain all night long, and this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Well, it may well rain again today, everybody. It's 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Who knows what's going to happen as the African dawn turns into the morning and then the midday. My name is James Hendry. Hashtag Safari Live is how you talk to us. That is the most important part of anything I'm going to tell you in the next 2 minutes. Almost as important is that Viam is on camera today. Good morning, Viam. There we are. That's what we say in South Africa. How's it? Because we're lazy and so we say hello and how are you in the same word. It's quite clever, really. Then on the other vehicle, Brent Leo Smith is knocking about with Craig on his very last drive before leave. And then in the tent, Byron, and making his debut in the tent with him, Fergus, and of course the world premiere today, everybody, of Alice in the first director's chair. Good luck, Alice. Right, we're going to go off towards the northern boundary now, and we're going to see if we can find some lion tracks. Brent Leo Smith has headed off down towards the south. I think he's searching for Tingana, who he had around there, also the Royal Cubs, so we'll see what happens with them. There's actually quite a nice view of the tent from here. That's quite cool. There are the guys in the tent, set themselves up nicely. And curious one, you have sent through the first question of the morning. You're wondering who was roaring around Djuma this evening. I couldn't begin to tell you, I'm afraid. The only thing that I heard last night was the great thundering of rain on my tin roof. What can you see, Viam? Lion tracks. I suspect it was one of the Birmingham boys. Well, the track's going this way, Viam. They're going this way. They're being tracked, actually, those two lions, by two Francolins. Very brave Francolins, obviously out for a bit of adventure this morning. Those are some very soggy indeed. And the lion tracks are heading up the road this way, so maybe we'll come across them. Those lions do tend to move quite a distance. Let's listen to the spurfowl call. It's doing a little bit of a prance around the place. You can see its spur there quite clearly on the right and left feet. But on the right one you can see there its spur that it uses for fighting, for hooking into other spur fowls who perhaps try and, muscle in on their territory or their ladies. Aren't you glad that your head doesn't flick about like that every time you utter anything?
Almost like yours.
Like mine, yes. Sharon, you say, did I say that Shongile and Hasana were together? No, I didn't. I believe Brent said that yesterday, and so yes, I think they were found yesterday together on Little Gowrie, which is the reserve to the south of us. The lion tracks go off in there, and we didn't see them yesterday together, so they might be together. I didn't think that they were going to spend much time together. I'm not sure how long they will spend together. There are more lion tracks going up here. So Perhaps I was wrong and they will choose to spend more time than I had expected with each other, but that would be unusual, of course, because Hosana will monopolize any feeding opportunities. He will unlikely share willingly with his sister unless he has had sufficient to eat. And if you are perhaps a new viewer, Hosana and Shongile, two of our very favorite characters, they are now 15-month-old leopards, and they've just lost their mother, or we don't know what's happened to their mother. They're just about at the age where they should be able to look after themselves, so we're not that worried about their safety. We are very worried about their mother because we love her very much. Her name is Kurula, and unfortunately she has disappeared and has now been gone about a month, so that's quite a long time. Brent is down in the south scouting for them. We're going to do the northern boundary and see what's happening this side. So let's head across to Brent Leo Smith right now and find out what he's going to do this morning.
Morning, and isn't it a gorgeous morning? My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Eeyore/Batman/Craig on camera, and we had a bit of wet weather last night. And of course, sometimes wet weather can play havoc with certain things, and in my case, it's played havoc with something that James and Byron don't have a problem with. Look how curly my straight hair has got in the wet weather. But anyway, time for a change. But the sun is creeping up on the eastern horizon, but it is being blocked by some dark and ominous clouds. There we go. You can just see that little red tinge. You can see our roof on in case that cloud comes closer towards us. But that is very, very pretty. Now, I know James was chatting about Hosana and Shongile joining up together. Now, they joined up together. Apparently, they were eating catfish out of a drying pan. Now, of course, that drying pan's probably not so dry anymore, but at least that's a very high protein meal that they managed to snack on for at least a day that we know of. Now remember, #SafariLive on Twitter if you would like to ask me any questions. For those of you who might be new and be wondering what this is a live African safari, and Hosana and Shongile are two of our favorite leopards. They are young leopards just over a year old that have become recently independent from their mother. Their mother, Kurula, is our dominant female, but we're a bit worried about her. She's been missing now for nearly a month. So on the 17th would have been the last time she was seen, and we haven't seen any tracks, so we are quite concerned. Well, I do apologize about squeaky brakes, but after the wet weather, driving through the puddles, you get sand in between the pads, and they can make a bit of a squeak. So I'm just going to go into first gear, because also after the rain, it makes life a bit difficult to see tracks. And Alicia was wondering about that. It says, is it tougher or easier to track animals? It's much tougher, Alicia. So what happens is the rain actually compacts the soils. Oh, I'm just listening. Oh, I think. Aha. So it sounds like there's a male leopard calling to the east of us, but not quite in our traverse. But I'm going to keep listening. Maybe it comes through. There's apparently also two or three wild dogs just to the south of us. So we're going to go very slowly here in case those wild dogs decide to come back up in this direction. Now, we're also obviously checking now for Hosana and Shongile, those two leopards. They've been frequenting this area around us, the southern edge of our traverse. So fingers crossed that they decide the wet weather is Djuma weather. So sorry about that, Alicia. So Alicia, it's much harder to track after the rain. The rain compacts the soil, and with lightweight animals like a leopard, they barely leave an indentation. And the drier it is, the sandier it is, the easier it is to track. So wet weather is not actually good weather for tracking cats. It's not so bad if you're tracking something like a lion that's quite heavy and leaves footprints quite easily, but with leopards it can be a little bit trying. But That's why we're going slowly, and that's why our eyes are often trained to the ground. Now, your eyes are like any other muscle in your body. The more you use them, the better they get. So you'll notice when people first come on safari and they're sitting on the back of a vehicle and the guide or tracker goes, "Oh, look, there's a leopard." They'll sit there going, "Where's the leopard? I can't see a thing." But after a while, your eyes become adapted, and even after 3 or 4 days on safari, the guests will be able to start spotting stuff they wouldn't at the beginning. Now, there's something that you would think can be very easy to spot, but sometimes they can be incredibly difficult to spot. So let's go see what behemoth James has found.
What we've found is a very, very large elephant, everyone, and I've not turned the car off because he is in full must. And he was walking straight towards us. He's not showing any signs of overt irritation, but I just like to be able to move off if we have to. I think he's actually fine. I'm going to turn off so that he can just relax a little bit. There we go. He's got a hole in his ear, but he's not that hole in the ear elephant that Taylor calls Daryl. Oh, that's beautiful. He is massive. I'm a bit sad that we have this roof on. I'll just try and turn around, sorry. Julia, you say, where would a huge elephant like this hide from a storm? He wouldn't. He'd have to just deal with it, I'm afraid. He wouldn't hide from it at all. Sorry, this road is very awkward to turn around in. Oh. He's actually being quite confiding, but he's not going to be very tolerant of us making huge noise around him. We might just follow him a little bit down the road. You can see him watching us quite carefully. So Julia, he definitely wouldn't hide from the storm at all. He would have to just bear it. I mean, he's so big, there's very little that he could get underneath, if you know what I mean. And so you can see his skin looks like wet leather. It looks like the shoes I managed to leave outside by mistake. See, he's just listening to us. He's lifted his leg there. Let's keep going. And Christina, you're wondering if the air is smelling fresh after the storm. It is. I'm not sure it's the last of the rain that we're going to have. But yes, it absolutely is smelling fresh until right now, because we've just come across, of course, the smell of his must. He is in full must, which means that he is leaking a great deal of green and noxious liquid. And that is very smelly indeed. I think we'll make it over this bump. I think we will. There we go. Now he is watching us quite carefully. I know it doesn't look like it, but every so often if you watch him you'll see his head turning from left to right. Just to see. Oof, this is powerful. Cedar Point, you're wondering how big his foot is. That's quite difficult to say. We're just going to stop here because he's listening to us. See him lifted his leg there? That foot, Cedar Point, is about 1.5 feet long by 1.5 feet either side. And then, just as he moves off, Virm is going to show you a spectacular view of the sun coming up. We'll ease past that. Isn't that gorgeous? There's still rain falling in the eastern horizon there. You can see it there through the trees. I'm just going to call this elephant in on the radio. Stations one very large elephant bull mobile in a easterly direction down Vuyatela main access towards quarantine. He is not an insubstantial fellow, this. Good, thanks, Jors, and you? That's just Jors, who's arrived in Biffle's Hook. Look at at all the mud on his back there. Yours must have been at least 20 mils, I'm not sure at this stage. We're just getting quite a lot of query here from yours about the Nkuhuma Pride. Last seen yesterday on Triple M between Simbambili and Vuyatela. I'm not sure where they went from there. I think probably into Simbambili. Beautiful. Isn't he wonderful? Now, Alicia, you're wondering what it means to be in must. Alicia, I will tell you right now. Copy, thanks very much, George. Yeah, no, I just gave an update of an elephant bull going south. Alright, a must is an elephant's time of breeding. So this big bull is in a state of very high testosterone. It means that he's irritated, he's feeling tense, he's feeling a little bit kind of anxious and upset about things, and that's why he keeps turning towards us. Okay, copy, thanks, I'll go have a look there now. And I'm just going to tell you what yours said once I've finished the must explanation here. And it means that he's looking and seeking females in estrus. So he's trying to smell out the herds. Estrus females will give off a scent of estrus. So I don't know what that smells like, but he does. And so he'll be tracking herds with females that are in estrus. Now yours has just told me that he found a mvula at Sydney's dam yesterday. And so we're going to head off that way once we've left this elephant. We'll go and see if we can't have a look and find my old pal Mvula. See, now eventually he's going to get irritated and turn around, and I don't want him to do that, so we're just going to give him some space. He will hopefully go on to quarantine clearings, and then we'll be able to get alongside him. He's also, I will keep you posted, but he could walk past, he may well walk past the tent, except no, he's not going to. I think he's just not quite far enough along. Isn't he lovely? Magnificent tusks. Alright, we're going to stay with this fellow. He's going towards the tent, and so I think we should probably hand you over to the tent and the great Byron Sarau.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to James's tent, I suppose, and he's been very kind to offer it to me this morning. Well, myself and Fergus. My name is Byron, and as I said, Fergus is on camera this morning. First time for him in the tent, so it's quite exciting. And yes, we had a lot of rain last night, which is wonderful. So we thought, and also while waking up this morning, it was still drizzling, so we quickly got the tent ready, and we'll probably keep it up. There are still some dark clouds around, and we'll see what we can explore and find around this area. Hopefully we can find some interesting little bugs and play around with the gadgets that we have in the tent. And speaking of little gadgets and what we can find, I did manage to find something already. Now have a look at this, and we get to play with the microscope again, which is wonderful, and I do enjoy this because it is very, very interesting. So if you'd like to have a look, I've managed to find a small butterfly which got caught in a spider web, possibly during the course of the last 2 or 3 days. It doesn't look like it's been damaged that much, but isn't this fascinating? You can see how the web has wrapped around this butterfly. It is unfortunately no longer alive, but a really, really beautiful butterfly. I think this is part of the Kyrax's family. It's always difficult with a lot of these little butterflies, these orange little ones that we do get around here, orange and reds and blacks. A lot of them do look quite similar, but I think this is part of the Kyrax's family. I managed to go and get myself a new insect book while I was away, so that is quite interesting. But still, to find a really comprehensive insect book is very difficult, and to go through all these little insects and find out exactly what they are, it is not easy. As you can imagine, there are thousands of species of insects, so it's very, very difficult. I'm also quite excited because I'm hoping that big bull elephant decides to come and join us in the tent or close to the tent. That would be wonderful. He is walking down the road. I can actually hear James. Let's have a look quickly and see if we can't see him perhaps. Let's have a look out here. I was hoping to get a glimpse of that beautiful sunrise too. But it's still very, very dark behind us, and you might be able to have a look at these clouds. You can see still very, very dark. We cannot see the sun yet, but so I'm not sure exactly when those clouds are going to break and if it's going to rain again or not. Now, Ara, you asked what animal calls can be heard the furthest in the evening or in the bush. Now, one of the animal calls which can be heard the furthest are lions. I actually heard lions just before you came across to us in the tent. It sounded like they were coming down from the southeast. That's what it sounded like. It is occasionally difficult, but those calls on clear days can be heard up to 10 kilometers away. So it is very, very far, and they carry an immense amount of distance, especially on clear days. As I was saying, the clearer or the cooler the day, the further the sound travels. It is quite muggy at the moment, so the sound probably won't travel as far, but those sounds definitely. Lion calls, if you are walking around and an elephant gives a trumpet or a screech, you can definitely hear them from quite a distance away too. Hyena in the evenings, that sound travels. Jackal, if jackal are calling, so a number of sounds, but the one that you can hear the furthest, definitely lion. It's an incredible sound. I know Brent said he thought he heard a leopard calling to the east of where he was this morning. That also does travel quite a fair distance, but not as much as a lion does. I'm just having a look around here. Don't see that elephant just yet. I think it's still a little further down in that area. A.L. Swift, you asked if a snake has ever welcomed us in a tent. Well, not that I've seen. I'm not sure if any of the other presenters have had a run-in with the snake in the tent, but we are very, very careful when we do open it because there could potentially be a snake that's gone in there. I mean, it's good shelter, warmth, so it makes sense for snakes to go in there. But when we do open up, we're very, very careful, and when we close up too, we try and make sure that nothing can really get in, but you never know with snakes. So not yet. And we actually have been having a lot of snake activity. The other day we were out on a bushwalk and we found plenty of tracks of snakes crossing around. We did get to see a vine snake 2 days ago, I believe. So there's been a lot of snake activity, and I think what's happening is the snakes are getting more active trying to get food before the winter. So sorry, Alice, I didn't quite copy that from Pug's Fanatic. I'll just try to get that question again. Just having a look. Yes, Pug's Fanatic. That's a bit of a tongue twister, that. Pug's Fanatic. So the storm does indeed infect the scent that animals leave behind. You can imagine all this rain that we've had last night has washed away a lot of the scent that animals leave when they are scent marking territory. So often what you will find with in mornings like this is possibly lions and leopards especially moving around and scent marking their territory again. And the reason for that is because it's been washed away. So you may get animals moving around a lot more and scent marking again to re-establish that territory, those scents that have been washed away after the rain. So yes, indeed, it does happen. Just still having a look. I'm not sure if James is still with that elephant. Can't see anything. Also wouldn't want the Ellie to come straight through here. Beautiful big male that he had in the... is still with him, so I think he's just over there, just beyond these trees. We can't see them, but I don't think they're very far, just over there. As I was saying, it's a beautiful big bull elephant in must, and You do have to be a little bit careful with them, but generally they give you a lot of warning if they are not happy, or if you need to give them their distance and give them space. I'm just having a look around again just to see if we can't see anything up on quarantine. Often we can spot animals walking around at the top there, especially the wildebeest or the impala, but I don't seem to see anything at the moment. But there's a cacophony of bird calls going on around us. Now, I'm not sure if you would be able to hear them, but there's a Francolin's calling. I know James had a spur fowl this morning. Basically the same thing, the Francolins and the spur fowls. Can hear them calling. Can hear Cape turtle doves. I can hear the Carachain button quail. Now, there's always a debate on how you pronounce it correctly. I say Carachain. Some people say Karakani. Suppose it's up to you. Potato. Hang on. There's a lion close by, everyone. Now, that doesn't sound too far. That sounds like it's possibly coming from Central Road, just on the other side of Vuyatela Dam. So that was interesting. So that line's a lot closer than the calls I heard earlier. The other calls we heard were coming from that direction, southeast. This is coming from a northeast of where we are, so not very far. So I wonder if James or Brent or anyone is in that area. They might go and have a look. Michael, you were asking actually, in terms of lion activity, how active are they and do they hunt in the storms? Well, they do. In rain, a lot of predators will hunt because it masks their scent. It's very, very loud. So they are able to stalk and hide very, very easily when they are hunting any animals. So it makes complete sense for them to try and hunt in rainy weather or stormy weather. Often after big storms or rains, you'll find animals with kills, especially leopards. Leopards like to hunt in that type of weather too, and I've seen it many times before. So I wonder where that lion was. It didn't sound too far. It sounded like, and I must admit, it sounded like a lioness. It didn't sound like a deep, bellowing male. The males, the calls tend to be a little bit longer and a bit deeper. That sounded a bit shorter, more like a very short, as opposed to a male. Cedar points, what would I do if a lion came to a tent? Well, I would trip Fergus and run back into the tent. So I'd be safe, but he'd be out. I'm joking. I would, to be honest, we probably would be completely safe. A lion, if for example a lion came walking down through the bush from this side, we would just stand our ground, maybe just back up slowly towards the tent and stay. But it's highly unlikely for that lion to come anywhere close to the tent. The smells, it smells like us. They don't like that. They don't like our scent really. And also, we standing up, we look as though we're another predator. So they would generally try and avoid us. So we would be completely safe. I'm confident that we would be completely safe. And eventually those lions would move away. And also, what they might do is they might see us and then decide just to move off and walk away. That's usually what lions do. They don't like people very much unless you bump into them and startle them, or unless they are females with cubs. Then you do have to be very careful, because then they may act aggressively, and that's just to defend themselves because they feel threatened. Alright, I'm going to see what other little creatures we can find around here. Let's see how far Brent is and what he is up to at the moment.
I am on Chitwa, and I heard a report of something, so I'm trying to see if it's still here. There's an upset guinea fowl, so we're going to sneak in here, wonder what surprise is round the corner. I'm hoping I spotted one. So I'm following an off-road track. No one's been here yet this morning, so this is quite exciting. Aha, there's the apple leaf. I was told to look around the apple leaf tree. we're very close to the apple leaf now. What could it be? I see two spotted creatures. Oh, it's so cute. Just the way he's looking at us. Let's just get Craig in the best spot for the first spotted creature. How's that for you, Craig? And you can see how good that a leopard's camouflage is. And he's just lying beneath that little pushed over tree. Maybe that was his umbrella for the night. And there is little Thamba. So Thandi and Thamba have a steenbok kill here. Hello, good looking. Oh, I can hear Thandi crunching bones. Thamba looks to be quite playful this morning. Yes. I just need to let the other person who's coming to look for them know. Ari. They're still in the same position. Look at that. Thamba, what are you doing with that branch? I'm just going to try and move around a little bit more, see if we can get a view of Thandi. Well, remember, hashtag Safari Live if you've got any questions. And isn't this a wonderful way to start the morning, especially after it's going to be after the rain and quite difficult to track. But fortunately, a little birdie on the radio told me that Thandi had made a kill. Hello, Thandi. Now you can see the rain roofs on. Probably not going to need them, but better to err on the side of caution. I don't think there's much left. It was quite a small steenbok apparently, so we're lucky she's still here. I think she's probably crunching through the last of that little steenbokkie. What's that? Is that? Yes, looks like just the hoof. Not much left at all. Now, on a small antelope like a steenbok, she's able to crack open the leg bones and get. Oh, what has she heard? And get to the marrow inside. She doesn't look like she heard something. You never know. There might be a hyena who's arriving late to the party. Hi, Lynn. Lynn's wondering what is the translation of their names. Thandi or Tandakile or any derivative that has Thandi in it means the one who is loved or the loved one. Oh, here comes Thamba. And Thamba means granite rocks. He was born in a little granite rock. A granite rock crevice is where he was born. So Thandi and Thamba. Thandi the loved one, and Thamba the rock, or the boulder. Charlie's wondering where are they in relation to where Hosana and Shungile once were. Here he comes, Craig. You might get a snarl from his mom. They're quite far away. They're a good 2 or 3 kilometers away. Look at him. He's looking so mischievous this morning. Mom is going to give you a smack if you try to take that bone away from her. Look at him. You've got such a big belly and you still want more. I mean, it seems to have inherited his mother's darker colouring. Oh, there we go. He's going to sneak around the tree. Are you going to get a smack, little man? Or hiss at least, yes. That little hiss, and down he went. Alicia, hi, good morning and welcome. Alicia would like to know what animal is considered, look at him, he's playing with himself, dangerous for a leopard. Well, the most dangerous thing for a leopard would probably be lions, and followed closely by wild dogs. Look at him. He's entertaining himself while Mom is finishing off the last of the Steenbok. Keeping himself very entertained. Chrissy's wondering, was Thamba the only cub in this litter, or she lost any? There were two. There was a male and a female, and she lost the female quite a long time ago. So she's munching away. Now, there's a very strong possibility once she's finished, they might get up on the move. So we're definitely going to stick with them for the next little while. Now, we were on our way to Cheetah Plains when we heard about this. So, very, very exciting. I'm just going to move forward a skosh so we can see both their faces. How's that? A little bit more? Back? There we go. So there we go. Now we've got both of them. Oh, 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 oh. What did I hear there? It sounded like a male impala snorting that attracted Thamba's attention. Munch, 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 munch. I mean, she is literally making the most of it. There's almost zero left. Now, because it's such a small antelope, she has managed to crush. That's just the hoof there. Now, sometimes female leopards or leopards will swallow the hoof inadvertently, but she's trying to crunch all the marrow out of the bone. Now, of course, the hoof is one of the things that leopards can't digest. It is keratin, hair, so it just passes. No, she dropped it. Good girl, clever girl. I'm trying to see if there is a bit more of the carcass. Just yes, there is. There's actually quite a bit more just to the right of the tree. You see where Thamba's tail is. Just zoom into the grass there and down. Okay, no, she's just making them. Is that a? It's a branch. It looked like a bit more of a carcass, but it is just a branch. Oh, there's Thamba coming closer to us with his big tummy. Oh, he's decided to stop behind the pole. And he looks full of beans this morning, young Thamba. But as I said, he's going to lie down. I think they might get moving again, especially if that carcass is finished. So while we stick here with Thandi and Thamba, let's go to James with his big grey beast.
Righty, here we are with another herd, well, a herd of elephants. We left our massive bull going off to the south, so I suspect that he spent some time. Perhaps there isn't an estrus female here, so he thought he'd seek out better opportunities elsewhere. This herd is probably about 10 strong or so. They're just heading into some pretty thick bush, and I must just apologize once again for the appearance every so often of canvas and poles in your screen. That is simply because there was heavy rain last night, and we didn't know if it was going to rain again this morning. At the moment it looks to be clearing quite nicely, so we might go home halfway through the drive or so and take our roof off. Isn't it amazing how old they look so young because of their wrinkly skin? And this particular young bull is spending a good deal of time savaging the tree known as Acacia gerardii, or the red thorn. I've just seen him macerate one in front of us, and now he's going to do the same job to this one. And the acacia is tremendously rich in various nutrients, but quite difficult to eat because they're full of tannins. He looks like he just got up, doesn't he? He looks a little bit like Connor did this morning when we saw him. Eyes about the same width. Connor, if you don't know, everyone, is our technical man. He's an engineer. Now, imagine swallowing and biting over those thorns and not feeling anything as a result. It really is quite astonishing. Very peaceful herd. And it tells me that that big bull didn't spend too much time around them. Those big bulls can create a tremendous amount of tension and angst amongst the elephants. Oh, hang on, we've got quite a nice situation going on here. Let me go forward. We don't normally show you this sort of thing. Oh. What I wanted to show you was that young bull there. He'd walked right up to the car just to say hello to them. Anyway, that is a game drive vehicle from Djuma. That's Rexon, one of our favourite sons of Wild Earth. He's guiding there. Daniel, you're wondering how long an elephant stays in must. Daniel, it can be for up to 6 months apparently, but normally probably the height of must, which that guy looked like he was in the middle of, probably no more than about a month. And apparently when they get really old, so probably about his age, they can almost go from one must period to another straight away. And so they're almost constantly in a little state of must. It's a beautiful herd of very relaxed elephants, and some of them have been fast asleep on the ground here. Now, elephants sleep probably for only about 2 hours of the day, 2 to 4 hours as big adults. They don't often lie down, but there were 2 or 3 amongst this group that were lying on the floor. Look at this chap here. Look at this young bull there. He's approaching the guests, and they are... Rexon is completely relaxed. The guests, of course, don't really know what to expect, but they're having the wonderful time there. Now, BJ Scotty, you're wondering how much an elephant eats. Well, we're reliably, it's difficult to say. Most of the data comes from an extrapolation of an investigation done with a cow of 10 years old who used to eat 150 kilograms of food a day. So extrapolating from a 10-year-old cow to a 45-year-old bull, we're probably looking at least double that, so 300 kilograms, 660 pounds of grass and tree and whatever else he eats a day, producing roughly half that volume in dung, if you can believe it. Now, Brentley Smith is hailing me on the radio. I will attempt to get him back. Beautiful little picture of the prehensile trunk there. And covered in mud from where he's been lying down. Isn't that lovely? That's a beautiful picture. Okay. We're just hearing that there is one male lion in Buffelshoek coming this way, which is quite nice. smelling us, smelling the myriad different smells of the guests on the vehicle behind him, thinking about what they all mean and how to interpret all those smells. Deb, you're wondering how they chew and digest the thorns. Well, Deb, they chew them with enormous flat sort of grinding surfaces on the molars, and there's actually quite a lot of nutritious stuff inside the thorns. How they don't hurt themselves, I don't know. But I mean, once they've broken up, I don't think they're any more difficult to digest than grass or bark or anything like that. So I don't think digestion's an issue. How they don't hurt themselves, though, remains a source of some mystery to me. I'm not sure anybody can satisfactorily tell me why it is that those vicious thorns don't stick into their lips or their tongues. It's lovely. And no smell like there was around the big bull. Now, Pug Fanatic, you're wondering if there's anything that an elephant cannot eat, something that might make them ill. I imagine an enormous slab of chocolate would probably make them sick. Yogurt probably make them sick. What else, Vim? Prawns? Lobster thermidor, perhaps? Probably make them a little bit ill. Pug Fanatic, you don't obviously mean that. I don't think that there are plants out here that would necessarily make them ill. I do think that elephants understand what's good to eat and what isn't good to eat, though, and I think they eat different plants at different times depending on what their nutritional needs are. I don't know of a plant out here that is specifically toxic to an elephant, and I was saying yesterday on my walk that I thought that their mass is so vast, they're so big, that the plant would have to be tremendously poisonous for it to have any effect on an animal that size. I mean, for example, were they to be bitten by a black mamba, and were that mamba to be able to get through the thick skin, you know, the amount of venom needed to affect an elephant would be so far in excess of what a black mamba could produce, that although it might feel a slight wooziness, I definitely don't think it would feel any kind of effects. So if you consider the toxicity of something like that compared with the mild nature of most of the toxins in the plants out here, I think it's pretty clear that although some things might make them feel sick if they ate too much of them, I don't think there's anything that would sort of kill an elephant if it ate the wrong thing. Let's go a little bit forward. Katie, you're wondering if elephants have a favourite tree to eat, and the answer is absolutely yes, they do. Well, they have a favourite fruit to eat, and that fruit is marula fruits. And this elephant is currently eating a false marula tree, so that's VM's favourite tree. They do not have any decent fruits, but a marula tree they will devour. The fruits when they come out in January and February in this area, and then during the early parts of summer, so during the real height of the dry season, September, October, they will select for knobthorn trees, the flowers, and they'll also eat the bark quite extensively. So I guess those would be their favourite trees to eat. But they're not very fussy. Well, people will say they're not very fussy. I think that they're very specific about what they eat. They are selective. While they have a wide-ranging selection of things that they will eat, they are selective about what they eat. They don't just eat anything. Alrighty, I think that these elephants are going to head into the thicket now, and so we should head back to Love and Rock.
Welcome back to On the Move. And unfortunately they are heading towards the Moanini. And the Moanini is a well-known gremlin hotspot. Wait, here comes Thamba. He was sneaking up on his mom. He's ready to pounce. There he comes. He got spotted. She is heading down towards the bottom of the Mowanini, and that is as I said, a really well-known gremlin spot. So we'll try stay with her. Hopefully she just crosses through, and that she doesn't stay in the riverbed. She might just be going for a drink. And you can see there's another vehicle here with us. Okay, I've just lost sight of her in the long grass. But when you see cameras pointing, we're just going to sneak around them. Okay, now they should be popping out somewhere around here. But they seem to be moving quite quickly. Ari is just saying he also wants that I can, even with the roof, fit through places that they struggle with. Okay, they're just trying to see where they're coming through. They are moving quite quickly. But while we do that, have a look there. Hawk moth. Look at that hawk moth. Isn't that exquisite?
As Brent was saying, the gremlins are probably jumping on his vehicle at the moment, going through that little drainage line. Hopefully he can follow those leopards for a little bit longer, and if they pop back out, we'll get back to them. So we've still been looking around the tent, and what I've noticed though from all the rain that we've had has been a lot of insects that have either died during the storm, been caught in spider webs. It was quite a hard storm. We had a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and it does affect insects from time to time. And I found another little, what looks like a wasp, a tiny wasp, I was having a look at it earlier, trying to identify this, and it is very difficult, as I said before, to find a comprehensive identification book of some of these insects. We do have bee flies, but this does not look like a bee fly at all. I think this is part of the wasp family. But amazing under the microscope, the little hairs on the wings, and you can see it's actually still quite wet. It was basically drowned in water, and that's where I found it. But you can still see little hairs just on the wings, and the little hairs on the abdomen and on the legs. It is fascinating to see these little creatures under the microscope. It's really, really very enjoyable. And I'm just having a look. Fortunately in the tent, and I do enjoy it because there's so many little gadgets and gizmos, and we get to see what everyone else is seeing. And I just see on the dam cam behind me that somebody has found a woodland kingfisher, which is still around, which is quite interesting. So let's have a look at that quickly, because that's a beautiful view of a woodland kingfisher, that beautiful iridescence, and it is still around. I wonder when it is going to leave. Fairly soon, I'm sure. I think it's almost April, May. And then they eventually disappear and migrate north. Let's see if he turns his head though. It's a beautiful view, very, very close. You can see the feathers are a little ruffled, and that would have been from the rain. And got a bit wet, so often what birds do is they try to puff their feathers up, ruffle the feathers. That helps dry them out a bit. There's that orange beak just... Hopefully it turns its head again. That's a lovely view of a woodland kingfisher. I can hear many of the quails, speaking of all the birds around, many of these quails around us, and I think they would be very, very active now after this rain that we had. That booming sound of the quails, the curricane and button quails. This bird does not want to turn around. That bird doesn't want to turn around for us, unfortunately, but what a lovely little view. So, as I said, all these little gadgets and gizmos that we have in the tent make it very exciting. It's nice to be back in here. Nice, very kind of James to allow us in his tent. I just want to have a... Julia, good question. We've been speaking about all these insects and that around, and he was saying which insects or type of insects do we need to look out for in our shoes in the morning. Well, a number of insects, but mostly scorpions. I would say probably just a few scorpions that might be wandering around. We did have a small little scorpion in camp last night. Let me get the name right again. It was... and I actually got the name last night. I've gone blank. It'll come back to me. The long scientific names of these scorpions that we get around here. It was Olivatus, I think, or Oliveticus was the species name. The genus was... It'll come to me. But scorpions, there are some spiders, the sack spiders and button spiders that you have to look out for, but they generally prefer dark corners and that. They don't necessarily go into your shoes very often. It would probably just be scorpions, but golden rule is whenever you're out on safari or in the bush anywhere, is in the mornings, as you wake up, just take your shoes and tap them out. Just have a look. Just be careful. I still do it everywhere I go. I always tap my shoes. One of those things. It's a habit. Let me have a little step outside the tent here quickly, and it's starting to clear up quite nicely. Lightning Guy, you asked, is the amount of rain that we've had, would it cause more animal activity or more insect activity? Yes, possibly. I think for the moment I haven't seen a lot of insect activity just yet. Usually in the beginning of summer, the first rains bring a lot of insects out, and that's obviously for mating and breeding purposes, and the new fresh rains awaken all those insects. But for the moment, we're moving into winter, so there are not as many insects, but you will still get a bit of activity. Definitely after rain. With animals, I find that when it is raining, if it is cold, animals tend to look for shelter, but predators may still be moving around. I'm not sure when Thandi actually killed that little steenbok that she had. That's quite interesting. I'm not sure if it would have been last night during the rain, or if it was before that, if that kill has been there for a day or so. I don't know. So as we spoke about it earlier, how some animals will hunt a lot in the rain because it's easier for them. It's easier to stalk and hunt when this rain is making all this noise. Animals can't smell you. They're all huddled together. They're worried about the thunder and the lightning, and so it is a bit easier for some predators to hunt in the rain. So I'm not sure when she did make that kill, but nevertheless, the predator activity does increase slightly when it's raining. However, again, on the opposite side of the spectrum, I've seen where lions and leopards go and lie under a bush and they don't want to move because they're getting wet. So it's very difficult to say, and it all depends. I just want to have a look, show you these beautiful clouds behind us. You know, these rain clouds in the distance, the sun's still just hiding behind those clouds, but it is very, very beautiful, and it makes for magnificent views. Now, I was waiting for that elephant that James had earlier. He seems to have had quite a bit of luck with the elephant so far this morning. It doesn't look like that big bull has decided to come and visit us here in the tent, unfortunately. But speaking of James, let's head back to him and see where his driving is taking him this morning.
There we have, can you believe it? That thing sat on the ground perfectly still until you're live. Gone. Monotonous lark, everyone. I don't think there's... here's one. It's on the tree behind us. Come on, Jigger. I don't want to start the car. Can you see it there, Vim? Oh, that's a beautiful shot. Shall we? I don't think I should move at all. It's so artistic. It's also flown away. Anyway, the monotonous lark is still with us. It has not left. Ah well. Our plan now is to head east on this boundary. Mainly because we couldn't head any further west if we tried. We checked Sydney's dam. There seems to be a lot of lion activity on Biffle's Hook, so probably not much here on Djuma. Biffle's Hook, for those of you who are new, is a reserve to the north of us onto which we may not travel, but the lions, leopards, hippopotami, and indeed even the dwarf mongoose are able to come and go as they please. Remember, hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us. We'd love to hear from you, and I'd also very much love to show you this gorgeous sky, but with the roof on, I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit difficult. I think we'll probably go and take the roof off in the next 20 minutes or so if we don't see any more rain coming up. Cedar Point, you're wondering what kind of clouds these are? Well, that's going to take me right back to my sort of 7th grade geography class, which was many years ago. I'm going to say that there is a sort of, can you even see above us, Liam? Can you see? Yeah, well, there's some cloud. I'm going to say there's some cumulus there. That's the fluffy stuff. I'm going to say there's some stratocumulus. That's the low-hanging fluffy stuff that makes a sort of blanket. And then, way up above that forms these sort of waves. I think that's called, what's it called? Altocumulus, I think. That's high up above and normally indicative of some kind of a cold front. Yeah, not those would sort of be cumulus clouds, I imagine. So I think that's what we've got here. Again, it's been some time that I studied clouds, but that's what we've got, I reckon. I hope that answers your question, Cedar Point. Now, while the rain does make the ground softer for tracks, it also washes away quite a lot of them, so we have to be quite careful as we drive. Now, Buttons Cockatoo, you're wondering about the smell. Well, the smell at the moment, Buttons, is like rain. It smells of moisture, smells of water. There is a smell sort of petrichor, which of course is the aromatic oils are released, and so there is definitely a smell of that, but not very strong because there's been a lot of rain. And then there's the smell of wet grass. Seeds can be quite aromatic, so every so often you drive past a stand of something like Simbapogan or turpentine grass and you get a little nice whiff of that. But basically it smells clean, it's free of dust, there's no smell of dust in the air. So that's the story there. Yeah, I'd say that's about an accurate representation. Tracks of zebras going up and down. Now, Pug Fanatic, you're wondering how the big cats deal with a big rainstorm. Much the same way as the elephants do, I'm afraid. They grin and bear it. Obviously they don't like it. They will go and hide under thick bushes and it'll remain dry for a short time, but after a while they too will get wet. The rain will drip through wherever they are and they too will get wet. So Pug Fanatic, they just have to grin and bear it, and they do get very miserable and soggy underneath the bushes that they try to hide from the rain. Using under them shall be. Lynn, you're saying, did we get enough rain to overcome the drought? Yes, I'd say we did, but I mean, sometime before last night. I'm not sure what the total is that we've had this year. I think it's probably in the region of 600 millimeters of rain, which is above average, and I think that would certainly have done a lot to break the drought. The dams have got water in them, the water table is high. But I mean, there's no point at which you can say, right, well, the drought is now over. It's impossible to say where that point is. So it's all a continuum. I would say that we will have a good dry season. I think there's sufficient water around for the animals to get through the dry season. This last bit of rain and whatever else we get will probably help that situation too. So yeah, I don't think we're in a dire situation. If there is no more rain before November, well then by November, yes, certainly animals are going to be struggling, but would we describe it as a drought? I'm not sure. And to turn down to the south, I haven't gone down Mvubu Road for some time. And we'll see if we can't spot some more tracks. Always a good idea to be checking areas that we don't often check, because of course we are searching for any evidence of the Great Queen and where she may have disappeared to. There was a huge amount of alarm calling of animals yesterday evening during the drive. Nobody found anything around this area, so we'll just take a turn through there and see if there isn't something. It's not warming up very quickly, and that's because I think there is a front coming through. Certainly the whole country seems to have been covered in a huge swathe of cloud and rain and first cold weather. Sorry, Ellie, I missed your question. Something about the sunrise. What was it? Oh, what time does the sun rise? The sun rose today, I think, I mean it was behind a blanket of cloud, but I suspect it rose somewhere around 6:15, so 6:15. In the height of winter it will come up at about 6:45, so only about half an hour difference from what it is now, maybe, yeah, about 5:45 to 7. And then in the earliest, or around the 22nd of December, of course, the height of summer, it'll come up at, what time does it come up? About 5:15 or so. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, but changes about an hour and a half each way. So much less than it does at higher latitudes. Right, Byron has managed to find you something flying around, but it's not got a backbone. Let's go take this roof off.
Indeed, James. I must be honest, having a look around now, there's a lot of insect activity. Now, this is I think this is part of the Acrea family, I'm not sure. But a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. But what I think it's doing, oh, there comes another one. So there's a lot of butterflies around at the moment after all this moisture. But I think this one is just drying its wings out a little bit, because a lot of them are very, very wet. So I think this one's just drying its wings, but beautiful, beautiful colors. Look at that. Very, very relaxed, which is wonderful to see. I enjoy seeing these different butterflies, but there are so many, and it's hard to remember all their names. Or perhaps a little joker. I wonder if that's not a part of the joker family. Just speaking about names, I finally remembered that scorpion name. So we saw a little Euriplectes olivatus last night. Tiny little scorpion, not very big. It was only about this big. However, very thick tail, thin pincers, and they are quite venomous. They will give you a nasty, nasty sting. Not life-threatening at all, but you do not want to be stung by one of them. It is apparently very at the moment. Have a look at this. And we've got beautiful light, so you should see it clearly. There's a little dewdrop spider. Can you see that? Silver back. There are two of them up there. Beautiful, beautiful colors. So they're called dewdrop spiders because they appear as if they are little drops of water in the spider webs, and they are basically what's the kleptoparasites, I think is the correct word. They will steal food and that from other spiders, so they'll often hang on and hide in spider webs that are not theirs, and they'll catch something. Beautiful little spider. So Lulu Madness, you wanted to know the biggest butterfly or moth that we find here. Now I'm just trying to think. I think the biggest butterfly we get is probably one of those swallowtails. The Such a swallowtail is a very large butterfly, beautiful large butterfly. And I think if I have to show you how big they are, they probably, some of them get to about this size. So somewhere around there, maybe a little bit bigger. That's a citrus swallowtail. Then and then we've got the moths. We get lunar moths out here. Beautiful, beautiful colors, green and yellow on them. Amazingly colorful moths, but they get very big. Some of them get to about that size. The lunar moths. Very, very large moths. So I think it's probably swallowtail butterfly and the lunar moths that get rather large. And speaking of butterflies, I found another one. Look at this. See, and I think because of all this moisture, look at that. Oh, Michael, the butterfly wings, if I'm not mistaken, they're all made up of fine hairs, and that's basically what butterfly wings are made of. Very, very fine hairs. Often, if you touch them, you might see those little hairs and almost like a dust coming off of them, and you damage the wings very easily if you do touch them. Very, very sensitive part of the butterfly. And again, I think this is part of the joker family, these little butterflies with all the spots on them and beautiful orange, yellow and black. I think they're all part of the joker family. Wonderful. And as I said, I think at the moment these butterflies are all very active because there's a lot of moisture around, but also I think they're sitting around for us because they are still very, very wet, so drying out a little bit before they decide to start flying again. Turks, you would like to know what is the most toxic creature, or is it toxic or poisonous creature or insect in the bush? I'm trying to think. Out here, in terms of venom, obviously the snakes would be very, very toxic or venomous. They've got it's between the black mamba, the boomslang, the tree snake. Those two are probably right up at the top of the list. In terms of spiders, the sack spider, or the, what is the other, button spider, those two probably the most toxic or venomous. In terms of toxicity, that would be poison. Now, out here, poison, the tamboti tree is poisonous to us, and what it is if you burn that tree, if you burn the wood or anything like that on a fire while you're out in the bush, just inhaling the smoke can make you very, very ill. So you need to be careful of that. That's a toxic plant out here. A number of frogs, now that I'm thinking about it, so banded rubber frogs, beautiful little frogs about this size, red and black in color. Now those are very toxic, they are poisonous, so if anything tries to eat that or feed on it, it's got very bad taste and is also poisonous, will make the animal get very ill or very sick very quickly, and may cause it to regurgitate the frog again if it tries to eat it. So that is a toxic animal that we get out here, the banded rubber frog. Now I've just found something interesting that I'd like to take back into the tent. Try use the microscope again. Now I'm not sure what this is yet. Let's try have a look. Looks like a crab spider of sorts. Hang on, let's try. James always laughs at me when I try and reposition the microscope. And let's look at this. Hang on, it's so small, it's tiny, and it's white, so it's being blown out a little bit by this light, but very, very small little spider. There we go. Don't move. There we go, look at that. I'm going to try to put my hand here just to stop some of the light. But it looks like, I think this is known as a little crab spider, but I've never seen one like this bright white. I mean, you can see how bright it is. And look at those little drops of moisture just off to the side. This is a tiny little spider that I found on a grass stem. But you can see just to the right of it, there is a little drop of moisture there. So just to give you an idea of how big this little spider is. It's tiny, very small. But a beautiful color, I mean, bright white. Yeah, you can see it, look at that. Fat little body, fat little abdomen. You can see the legs quite clearly, and the head or the eyes almost a orangey color. You can find there, you see it moving slightly. When I say this is tiny, it is very small. I'll try to show you on the other camera. Just to give you an idea, but it's wonderful to see these little creatures under the microscope. Now just have a look at this, just to give you an idea of how big this little spider is. Look at that, it's tiny, very small. You can see the drops of moisture on it. So I'm going to go put this back, but this is great to see these little creatures, but from a little creature like this. Oh dear, Brent has got the leopards, it sounds like, but the signal is coming and going. Don't worry, we'll stick with us. It should get a bit better shortly. Let's go put this little guy back outside so long in the meantime. I'm hoping those little, look at that, and so well hidden. So I'm hoping those leopards come out into a more open area for us, where we're able to view them a bit better. Alright, I'm just going to put that little guy there, and there seems to be a little grasshopper there. There's so many insects around at the moment. It's exciting, but it's difficult to identify all of them. Now the sun is coming up. Let's head to James, find out what his plans are for the sunny morning now.
Oh, indeed, the sun has come up. We've taken the roof off, and there, everybody, is a giraffe heading across the plains of quarantine. He's now obviously not heading across the plains, he's now eating. Now this giraffe has been familiarly found. What kind of English is that? He has been found regularly in this area for the last few days, and this is what giraffe do. They become enthusiastic about an area for a little while, and then they decide that they don't like the area very much, and so they disappear and leave. Oh, look how the light has turned just gorgeous. It's a lovely shot there of him eating his Sisyphus bush. And Sisyphus, of course, the bush of choice for many animals out here, despite the fact that it just has some of the most vicious thorns you'll ever see. Many of them now coming into fruit, and the primates especially will enjoy spending time with them. Baboons love eating Sisyphus fruit, and we watched one the other day sitting on top of the roof at our camp, and this quite astonishing baboon had no problem sucking on or picking the fruits from the thorniest branches, and I just couldn't understand how he was able to do it. How he was able to hang his tail over the top of the branches and then walk along, and you could hear the skin ripping, or certainly it sounded like skin ripping, as he pulled his tail off the thorny branches and then pulled at them with his hands. It was really quite amazing. And I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I don't know why they don't get sore. Buttons cockatoo, you are wondering why it is that these animals develop those wart-like protrusions on their heads, on their ossicones. They're not warts, they're calcifications. In other words, they're calcified bumps, if you like, and they form there, Buttons cockatoo, as a result of fighting. So when these giraffe fight with each other, which they do quite a lot because they're just not very good at being friends, the skull starts to calcify. And it can be likened to that happening, it happens to a human being as well. A human being that plays the great game of rugby union, or I'm going to say slightly less internationally renowned game of gridiron football, will get a thickened skull. Players of those sports get thickened skulls because of the constant concussion that their heads make with opponents. I think you'll find boxers probably get the same thing. And that thickening of the skull is exactly what you're seeing there with what you might describe as wart-like protrusions. They do look a bit warty on this fellow, but it's not warts, it's bone. Calcified bumps. Little flocks of birds flying hither and yon to their feeding grounds for the morning. Alrighty, marvellous sighting of a giraffe, but let us head back to Brent Leo Smith, who's managed to find some signal here still with Rock and Love.
Well, they've just moved through the Mowanini. We had to stick with them so we didn't lose them. Now up on the crest, so we've got signal again. Isn't this exciting? Thandi and Thamba, they've moved quite far already, maybe a kilometre or so. So they might get lazy shortly. Or, unfortunately, they might go visit Torchwood. So what's going on? Let's just get in front of it. Hold on. As they moved out of the river system, and there is Thandi, and Thamba is waiting in ambush at the base behind a tree. Come Mom, I'm going to catch you, Mom. So there she is. She's walked quite far, I said. There he goes. He's coming up towards her, but no, not too much of a big jump. I'll give him a little clean. Look how fat his tummy is. I think he ate most of that Stenbok. That's why Thandi was stuck with the dregs, the hooves and the legs. Isn't this just wonderful? I love these tender moments between female leopards and their cubs. Now, Michael is wondering, why has Thandi had more success in raising cubs than her sister Shadow? Well, it's difficult to say. He also says, is it the location of territory?